dividing polynomials, and this lesson is being, it's going to be from fourth period on Wednesday, right? Today is Wednesday, January 13th. Okay, so dividing polynomials, we're going to start with baby steps. And what I mean by that is that we're going to start dividing a polynomial by a monomial, right? So what does that prefix mono mean? One, right? So this will be only one term. So when we say one term, that's what this letter C is representing, okay? One term and one term only. However, on the numerator, we have more than one term, and that's why we call them polynomials. So what we're doing here is dividing a polynomial by a monomial. And what you can see here is that the monomial is going to divide every single term on the numerator, all right? So I do call this, I refer to this as split the fraction. It's not really a thing, but I use that term. And so that's what it means. The denominator will divide every single term from the numerator. And of course, we have to make sure that that denominator is not equal to 0, because dividing by 0 will give us an undefined solution. Now, example number 1, this is the polynomial. So 6m squared plus 2m divided by 2m. So in this case, we're going to split the fraction. So we're going to have the 6m squared divided by 2m. Similarly, we're going to have the 2m divided by 2m. And now we divide each fraction individually. So there are two things you must do.
How did that 6m plus 2m become 6m squared?
Which one? This one?
No. From the problem, 6m plus 2m become 2m squared. 6m squared.
No. The 6. What I'm doing is I'm taking this 2, that would be the first fraction, and then this 2, and that would be my second fraction. Yeah? And we always need to do that, okay? So one thing we need to do is we're going to divide the coefficients. Number 2, what should we do with the exponents? When you divide letters or variables, what do you do with the exponents? Very good. You subtract the exponents. So in case you don't remember, the coefficients are the big numbers, exponents are those little numbers, right? Okay, so we have here 6 divided by 2. What is that? And m squared divided by m, if I subtract the exponents, 2 minus 1, so we get m to the first power, right? Or just m. And then here, what do we get if we divide 2m divided by 2m? 1, because we're just dividing one term by itself. And that is the answer. That's it. Now let's do the next one. Same idea. So we're going to take every term from the numerator and divide it by the 3x squared. So I want you guys to just give it a try. You can talk to the people at your table. And it's the same idea. You're going to divide the coefficients and subtract the exponents of the variables, of the same variables. So I'm going to give you guys about a minute to just talk about it. So we're going to check our answer now. And Luis, so tell me what you got from dividing the first fraction. So you divided 9 over 3, right?
Yes.
What do you get?
3x.
3x to what power?
30.
third power. And that is because we are subtracting the exponents here and here, 5 minus 2. Okay, the next one. Angel, what do you get?
4x.
Negative
5.
4. And then I want you to think about the x's again. What will happen here?
No x.
No x, right? So it will be
4.
Negative 4 only. Very good. Now the next one, Jasmine, tell us what you did.
Okay, so since there's only one x on top, you subtract, which would be -1, and with like the rule of exponents.
All right, so let me see. Let's take care of that, all right? That's a 1. Okay, so this is what Jasmine is telling us. She did this. You subtract, right? And then you got x to the -1, correct? And then,
You
what
put
else?
it in a fraction.
Put it in a fraction. So you brought this down. And then that made the exponent be positive. All right? Now, there's another way we could do it. It will save us a couple of steps. And so instead of subtracting on top, we could subtract on the bottom. Why? Because we know that if we subtract on the top, we're going to end up with a negative exponent, right? And then after that, it will take us like an extra step here. So for those of you who are always asking, is there a better way? Is there an easier way? Yes, there is. You will subtract on the bottom. So it will be 1 on top, because remember, 3 divided by 3 is a 1, right? So we still need to account for this 1 here. Then we subtract on the bottom, so x squared divided by x, or 2 minus 1, so that gives us x, which is the same thing that Jasmine got here, right? Either way is fine. If you have a preference, just go for that. Yes?
Is there a correct way of putting either 1 over x first or -4 first?
Well, that's a great question. And remember I told you we write polynomials in descending order. So that means we start with the highest exponent, correct? So Mark was asking, what has a higher degree? The -4 or the 1 over x? And the answer is actually the -4 has a higher degree, because this one, the degree is 0. Right? Remember, it has like an x to the 0 power. Every constant is of degree 0. This one is a rational form, a rational expression, because the x is on the bottom. So those, we usually put them at the end. Okay? All right, now the next one. Matthew, what do you got?
0, then x, and y.
Very good. So you subtracted, right? The exponents. Okay, Isaac, what do you get on the last one? I mean, I'm sorry, on the next one.
Oh, -4.
-4. All right. And now, oh, we have 2 Isaacs. I forget. Yes. I have my third period now. I have 2 Sarahs. So earlier I say Sarah, and then they both at the same time reply. Okay. You, Isaac. What do you get on this one?
Positive 2y.
All right. Let's see. 2 cannot be divided by 4, right? I mean, it can, but it's going to give us something less than 1. But we could reduce, right? Can we? So 2/4 is the same as 1/2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. And then 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now, what's happening to this x's here? Cancel. They equal 1. And what I'm going to do is just leave my y down here. And that's it. All right. Any question before we move to the next slide from here?
Where did the fraction come from again, right quick? I can't do.
This last one?
Yeah.
Okay. So I did the following. We had 2x divided by 4y. I'm sorry, 4xy. So the x's cancel out because they equal 1. And then the 2/4, we simplified it, and it gave us 1/2, because both sides can be divided by 2. So we got 2 divided by 2 is a 1, 4 divided by 2 is a 2, And then this y that was on the bottom, we just leave it on the bottom,
Okay.
like that. Okay, so this will be the solution. Now let's go to the next slide. Now we're going to go over long division, okay? And long division, so now we're going to move out of the baby steps. When we were doing dividing by a monomial, those was like we were crawling. Now you guys are ready to start walking, yes? So long division. So now we're actually going to divide a polynomial by a polynomial. Before that, I'm going to take you back to your elementary school days, when everything was nice and easy, when you didn't have homework on Fridays. You guys remember those good old times? No? No homework on the break, you know. When school was fun. And so you used to do long division, right? I hope. Before you were given a calculator. So what was the first thing you did? Could we say, could 3 be divided by 13?
Nope.
No. What do you guys do instead? The next one, right? So 36. How many times does 36 can be divided by 13?
2.
All right. Now what do you do after? Before you subtract.
Well, you multiply 13.
You multiply, yes. So 2 times 13, it is 26. Then you subtract. So you got 10. What do you do after? Bring down the 6. And then how many times does that go in it? 8. I know it's 8 because I did this problem last class. Okay, so we did 7 and it was too small, so we had to go for 8. Then we multiply, right? 8 times, I don't know what 8 times 13 is, so I'm just going to do this. 8 times 3 is 24, so it's 4, we carry 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. What do you do next? Subtract. So that's 2. What's the next step? Bring down the next. And then how many times does 13 can go into 20?
1.
Then you multiply, correct? And then you subtract. 20 minus 13 is 7. Now, every division has like different term, a name for each component, I guess. So they are quotient, remainder, divisor, and dividend. Can you guys tell me which is which? Any of them. Pick one. Which one do you want to pick? Which one?
13.
What is that? Yes, the divisor, because that's the one that performs the operation. That's the one dividing. What will be the number inside? Dividend. The one being divided. How about this one on top? That is the quotient. And how about the 7 here? Remainder, not the reminder, the remainder. Sometimes I interchange those words. Okay, now you guys are ready for this? Yeah? Dividing polynomials? Okay. It's really easy. X squared plus 7x plus 12, that is the dividend. The one inside the little thing, the little house. And the x plus 3 is the divisor. Now, just like we did with that long division, we're going to do the same thing here. And so what we're going to do is divide x squared divided by x. What would that be? We subtract the exponent, so it's x to what power? Or just x. Now, I'm going to place it here because how many terms do I have here? 1, 2. So I'm going to take 1, 2 terms here, okay? Now, just like we got this 2 here, and then we multiplied 2 times 13, I'm going to do the same thing here. So I'm going to multiply x times x, and then x times 3. So x times x, x squared. X times 3, 3x. Then what did we do after multiplying? Subtract. So this turns into negative. And this one also turns into negative. X squared minus x squared cancels out, that's 0. 7x minus 3x is 4x. 7 minus 3? 4, right? But 4 x's. Alexis, you paying attention? Now, what is next, Alexis? Bring down the 12. And now we're going to divide 4x by what? Only the x, only the x. So what would that equal to? Now, we're dividing. Just 4, just 4. So plus 4. Now we multiply 4 times x, 4x. 4 times 3, positive 12. What's next? We need to subtract. Minus, that cancels out. 12 minus 12 is 0. This is very important because when the remainder is 0, that means that x plus 3 is a factor. And so this is what I mean. We can write the polynomial x squared plus 7x plus 12 as the product of the divisor and what else?
The quotient.
The quotient. That happens only when the remainder, sorry, when the remainder is 0. All right? So it's time to go. I'm going to let you guys go. However, don't get too excited. Now we're going to move on to example number 5. And we have here a polynomial of second degree. So that one is going to be our dividend, 6x squared plus 10x minus 5. Our divisor will be this binomial, 3x minus 1. So the first thing we need to do is divide 6x squared divided by 3x. And so we could use some, if you're not sure how to divide, you could write it on some scratch paper or just on the side. And remember, we need to divide the coefficients. 6 divided by 3 is 2. And with the variables, we subtract the exponents. So 2 minus 1 will be a 1. So that means that we have x to the first power, or simply just 2x. So that number will be part of the quotient. Now what we need to do is multiply the quotient times 3x. That will give me 6x squared because we multiply the big number, the coefficient. 2 times 3 is 6. And for the exponents, we add them. Remember, we do that when we multiply variables. So then we multiply 2x times negative 1 right here. And so that will give me negative 2x. Now the next step for us is to subtract. So the sign from positive turns into negative, and this one from negative turns into positive. Now what I'm going to do is combine like terms. So 6x squared minus 6x squared will be 0. So we may say it cancels. Here we have 10x plus 2x. That will be 12x. The next step is for us is to drop the next term, and that's minus 5. Now what I'm going to do is divide 12x divided by 3x. And so I'm just going to write it down here, 12x divided by 3x, and so that will equal to 4. It is only 4 because x divided by x, it cancels, or in other words, it makes up a 1. Now that number will be here, part of the quotient. And now what we need to do is multiply 4 times 3x will be 12x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. And the next step for us is to subtract. So the sign turns into negative. This one turns into a positive. And now we combine like terms. So 12x minus 12x is 0. Negative 5 plus 4 is equal to negative 1. And so now the remainder happens to be negative 1. Now, unlike the first problem that we did with long division, the one right here, we got a reminder of 0. And so because of that, we were able to say that the quotient and the divisor were factors. Now, this is not the case, but there's one thing we can do. And remember when you had, let's say, a number, an improper fraction, and you had to turn that into a mixed fraction. So this will be 27 divided by 5 is 5 because 5 goes into 27 5 times. Now that will only account for 25 fifths, but we still have 2 fifths remaining. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the polynomial. So this will be 6x squared plus 10x minus 5 divided by 3x minus 1. And so the answer will be what we got for the quotient, 2x plus 4. But then we still need to account for this remainder, which is a negative 1. Now, it's not just going to be negative 1 by itself, but just like we did here with the mixed fraction, it will be negative 1 divided by 3x minus 1. Now I'm going to do examples 6 and 7. First, let's do number 6. And so one thing that I notice here is that it's not written in descending order, meaning with the highest exponent first. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. So my dividend is going to be 8x cubed plus 4x squared. I'm going to have a 0x, and then I will have the constant term, which is a plus 7. I'm dividing by 2x plus 3. So the first thing I need to do is divide 8x divided by 2x. 8x cubed divided by 2x. And so that will give me 4x squared. So that will be the first term for my quotient. From here, I'm going to multiply. So 4x squared times 2x, that will be 8x to the third power. Then we multiply 4x times 3, and that will give me positive 12x squared. Now I need to subtract, so the sign turns to negative, this one turns to negative, and then we combine like terms, so that cancels out as 0. 4x squared minus 12x squared, remember this is a 12, so that will be negative 8x squared. Now I'm going to drop the next two terms, so we have a plus 0x and we have a plus 7, just so that I don't lose track of them. And now what I need to do is divide negative 8x squared divided by 2x. And so here we have a negative divided by a positive, so the answer will be negative. 8 divided by 2 is 4. X squared divided by x, we subtract the exponent, so that should be x. Now that is the term that goes here on, it's part of the quotient. Now we need to multiply negative 4x times 2x, and so that will be negative 8x squared. Now we have negative 4x times 3, and so that will be negative 12x. Now we need to subtract, so we're going to change the signs. This goes to positive, this goes to positive, and then we combine like terms. So this will cancel out. 0x plus 12x is simply 12x. So now we're going to drop the last term, which is the 7. And what I need to do last is, well, not last, but we're almost there, is divide 12x divided by 2x. And so that will be 6. So that goes on top, part of the quotient. Then we multiply 6 times 2x, and that will be 12x. Then we multiply 6 times 3, and that is positive 18. However, we need to subtract, so that goes to negative, that goes to negative. 12x minus 12x is 0. 7 minus 18 is negative 11. And so this will be the remainder, but the answer to the problem, the quotient, will be that. Now, if you wanted to rewrite the polynomial, it will look like this. 8x cubed plus 4x squared plus 7 divided by 2x plus 3 is equal to 4x squared minus 4x plus 6, and then the remainder, which is negative 11, divided by the divisor, which is 2x plus 3. Now we're going to move on to example 7, which is the last problem for this video and this lesson. And we have a pretty long polynomial here, so I'm just going to check that it is in order, descending order. So we start with the term of degree 4, degree 3, degree 2, degree 1, and degree 0. Remember, every constant term is of degree 0. So we're going to be dividing 2x to the 4th minus x cubed plus 3x squared plus x minus 1. We're going to be dividing that by x squared plus 1. So this one is going to be slightly different. So what I'm going to do, we start the same way, since 2x squared divided by x, 2x to the 4th divided by x squared. And so that is going to be 2x squared. Remember, we are subtracting the exponents and we're dividing the coefficients. So that term goes here, 2x squared. Then we multiply 2x squared times x squared, and so that will be 2x to the 4th. Then we multiply 2x squared times 1, and that is going to be 2x squared. Now what I'm going to do is not write it below this term. I'm actually going to write it here, below the x squared term. And why do I do that? Because I want to combine like terms. And so there's no reason for me to write it below x cubed if I cannot combine it with it. Now we still need to subtract, so this goes to negative. This also goes to negative. Combine like terms, so this 2 will cancel. Now we have here 3x squared minus 2x squared, so that will be 1 positive x squared. Now I'm going to bring down the negative x cubed. My next step is going to be to divide negative x cubed divided by x squared. Now we're dividing a negative over a positive, so that will be negative, and for the variable will be x to the first power. So that term goes here, negative x. Now what I need to do is multiply, so negative x times x squared, and that will be negative x to the 3rd power. And let me erase this so I don't confuse you. Then we multiply negative x times 1, so that will be negative x. And again, I'm going to write it below this term here, negative x. We're subtracting, so I need to change the signs. This goes to positive, positive, and then we combine like terms. So negative x cubed plus x cubed will cancel. It's equal to 0. I'm going to drop this term, the positive x squared. And here we have positive x plus x, so that will be plus 2x. Now we're almost done with this problem. And what I need to do now is take this x squared and divide it by the x squared. And so I know that would be pretty obvious, but I'm still going to write it down. X squared divided by x squared, that is equal to 1. That will be the next term for the quotient. Now we need to multiply 1 times the divisor. So that is easy. It will just be x squared plus 1. Now we still need to subtract, so that turns into negative, and this is also negative. X squared minus x squared is 0. I'm going to bring this term down, 2x. And then here we have negative 1 minus 1, so that is negative 2. Now, what this means is that that term will be the remainder. We cannot divide again because 2x is of degree 1, and the divisor is of degree 2. So once your remainder has a lower degree than your divisor, that means that you can stop dividing. And this is the end of the video.